Hey, I'm Justin Harlan, Managing Director of Tulsa Remote, and we are here for another episode of Remote With. We're celebrating 5 years at Tulsa Remote, and I'm honored to be here with Obum, who's one of our first members at Tulsa Remote. We are sitting in the beautiful Central High School Performing Arts Center, and Obum is a social worker and community arts liaison at Central Middle and High School. Man, it's an honor to be here with you.
Thank you for having me, and happy 5-year anniversary. Can't believe it's been 5 years already, but happy 5 years.
Thank you. Let's, we're going to dive into your journey over the last 5 years, but we'd love to start even before that.
Okay.
Tell me a little bit about where you were. I guess it would be 2018. What you were up to before you discovered that Tulsa Remote even existed. What were you doing? And really kind of give me a sense of like what was missing in your life that caused you to even be open to the idea of moving to Tulsa.
Absolutely. So, I grew up in St. Louis, Missouri, but I moved to California in the early, I would say like around 2010. So 2018, 8 years, almost a decade into being in California, just going through life, right? Just going through the motions, I would say. And that's a preview to what was missing, right? I was just going through the motions, had my remote job, was working hard at that, but really just only doing that, going to work, coming back. Occasionally friends would visit and you have to go and show them around and, do the tourist thing. But really, I was just floating through life. Living in California at the time, things were rough because, cost of living is really high. The traffic is really bad.
Right.
So, you think 4 hours of my day was spent commuting. You don't have the time and energy to do other things once you're commuting for 4 hours and working all day. So I was missing just a quality life. I was missing activities. I was missing the things I was into, like theater and working with kids. So those things I try to do when I could, but I was just really missing those things, but I didn't have time to do it.
And then, you're there in California and you see that this Tulsa Remote program has launched, and this predates me. I'm sure that there was very clever marketing. At the time, it was the only program that was paying, somebody $10,000 to move from California or wherever to Tulsa.
Absolutely.
What was it that stood out to you about what you saw in Tulsa Remote that was appealing to you at that time?
Well, the first thing was that it was calling for remote workers, and I felt proud. Because even back in because I started really doing remote work 2012, and that was foreign to everybody. Even the CEOs didn't like it, right? Everybody didn't like it, but we were, that was our job. So it was still, so to me, hearing somebody call out for us in a positive way was the first thing that drew me in. I was, okay, remote workers. I'm a remote worker. And then also, at the time there was a couple of opportunities of like, hey, move here, but it seemed really exclusive, and you had to have a certain amount of money. And so it was so, exclusive. So this one was kind of like, okay, maybe I have a chance, right? It's looking for people who just want to make, who want to, for what I thought at the time, people who wanted to, test out a new place and try something else,
Right.
And so that's what stood out to me. It was Oklahoma. So I was like, okay, this is interesting because I told myself I'd probably never go back to the Midwest or anything like that.
Right.
But at the time, I really was impressed by the package, how they reached out to the remote workers. And, I saw it all over social media, on Facebook even. And so I thought they did a great job of trying to find us, and they did find me. So I decided to give it a chance.
Yeah, and I assume you maybe had been to Oklahoma because you grew up in St. Louis, but had you experienced Tulsa before?
To be honest, I really hadn't been to Oklahoma too many times. I mean, growing up, and I grew up in the Ferguson area. So if you've heard of Ferguson, Missouri, know. And so we had our own issues in Missouri, and I always heard horror stories about Oklahoma. They said if you hate Missouri, it's going to be worse. But I also knew a lot of people, African-American people, people of color who did live in Oklahoma and had great experiences. So I always knew in the back of my head that it wasn't as bad as people had said. But you still had a stereotype for Oklahoma. So I carried that with me. I would say that honestly, yeah.
Yeah, and who did you move to Tulsa with when you ultimately decided to come?
Yeah, so I was with my wife, Faith, and so she grew up in California and only lived in California. So this was going to be a new thing for her, and she trusted me. She trusted where what we had planned for our life, and we knew at the time it was time for something else. This wasn't going to work. We just got married, 2017. So we're looking for our own place for ourselves, right? And that became so stressful. That seriously gave us a lot of stress. We had to stop looking every day. Like it's becoming too stressful. And so when the opportunity came up, it's like, what? Perfect timing. We really need something different. And, we started researching Oklahoma and Tulsa because for me to sell it to myself, it was the one thing, but to sell it to other people was going to be another, right? So we were very surprised in what we found in the research and very pleased, about what we found, and we found a lot of positive things. We found the history, we found a lot of the negative pros and cons, right? It's like every other city, but we were very pleased at what kind of a welcoming city people were claiming it to be, right? And so we said, why not? It's only a year. The program did a good job, especially in the beginning. I believe that's how it is now still, but they take away a lot of the risk. Even the way they set you up, they took away a lot of the risks so you can be successful, Right. Even though the onus is on you, but they set us up to be successful. So once we realized, talking to the staff and getting to know everybody and the team we were coming into, we felt great about moving.
That's awesome. I definitely want to dig into like what community building was like at that time. Yeah. But man, I got to ask. So you had just gotten married. Did you then plant the seed that we're moving to Oklahoma, or did Faith already know a little bit about you coming to Oklahoma before you got married? Like, did she know what she was signing up for here? Man, this could be like a Hollywood movie, I feel like.
No, she found out with me. She found out the program with me because we've been together since 2014, right? So she found out the program through me, and again, because we would say these type of things. I don't know if you remember back then, it was like, move to Vancouver or something. Yeah. You just need to make $80,000 and you have to own 2 houses, and it was like you never could do it, right? And so we saw something. It said remote workers, and I looked at everything. I said, I actually qualify for this. I said, but it's Oklahoma. I don't know can I uproot my life and uproot Faith's life, and she's the baby of the family, the only girl, and so it was like, where are you taking my baby? Oklahoma, so it was a lot. She was very brave in that, and I appreciate how she handled all the skepticism from her family and friends. A lot of her family was supportive, but you had a lot of people who were like, what are you doing in Oklahoma? So to see what we grew here has been amazing.
Well, I'm sure nothing brings you closer together, early on in marriage than a new adventure like packing up and moving halfway across the country. So, that's great. I definitely want to dig into some of her successes as well, because I know she's really planted roots here and had a lot of success. Let's go back to 2019. So you move here, still pandemic still has not happened.
Not yet.
So much of Tulsa Remote still today, and you kind of hinted at it in the early day, was consistent, which is like, come here, remote workers, we're calling you in, let's build community together. And I'm curious, like, what was community like at that time? And there were 70 people that moved here, for reference, in 2019. We're 5 years in, approaching 3,000 people now. Obviously, community is incredibly difficult to scale, but I'd love to get a sense of what it was like in those early days. What did community feel like and look like for you at Tulsa Remote in 2019?
Absolutely, yeah. And to hear the 3,000 people now, it's just, I continue to celebrate that. I'm really excited about it. But back then, that would have been too scary, right? Especially when we first started, because, it was 70, but even that was scaled in, right? So I remember just being the 25 of us at first, just here. And so what community looked like was, we all knew each other. We all 70, all 25, whatever at the time, we all knew each other because we kind of stayed close. You would see us huddled around 2 tables at 36 degrees north. And so we actually just built community by being thrown into the community, right? So Tulsa Remote does a great job, especially in the beginning, of taking us out of our element, right? We're remote workers, so a lot of us are used to just conference calls, video, right? They had us, you can do all those things, but let's do it here at the co-working space, or let's do it here at Chimera, right? And by doing that, we were learning all the people and the places.
Right.
But community I would say it was easier than somebody now, because we all knew each other and everybody in town knew we were here.
Yeah.
And Tulsa does a special job of welcoming you. And, and whatever you need, whatever you fancy, right? Wherever you want to be around, they'll quickly send you there. And so for me, community looked like anything I wanted, everywhere I wanted to go, right? If I said I wanted to be around the kids and, work with them on speech and debate, I quickly was pushed in that direction. I said I wanted to be a theater, everything, right? So for us, it was just really trying to get to know the city, and we did a great job of taking us to the zoo or having meetings. We had a lot of community gatherings for Tulsa Remote, and we would invite Tulsans, right, to just talk to us, and not on just a high level. It was really like real conversation.
Yeah.
And so I appreciate the Tulsans early on, because there's a lot of skepticism in the beginning, right? Because nobody knew what exactly was going on. Some people thought we just got $10,000 right away to move here, and that wasn't the case, as you know. But so it was a lot of skepticism. So a lot of people could have been very mean to us, but Tulsa did a good job of welcoming us, even through the they didn't realize what was happening. So, and to people who told me later on, like, I didn't know too much about the program, I don't know if I was happy about it or not, but you kind of helped change my mind. I didn't feel that from a lot of them in the beginning. They were still very cordial, very welcoming, and very, as long as you're working and doing what you said you would do, Tulsa does a great job of welcoming you and working with you.
And we often get asked, like, how welcoming are Tulsans to Tulsa Remoters, and do you kind of feel othered? And my answer is always, it depends on the posture that you have as the person coming in. And I think that's really the case in life in general.
Yeah.
But if you're coming in with the mentality of learning and adding to a community that's already thriving and trying to find your spot to add value as opposed to create something that isn't necessary, it's just going to be, you're going to be embraced in a very different way than you would if you're coming in thinking you've got all the answers, looking to fix things. And you've done an exceptional job of that. I mean, it feels like you've made some really intentional decisions to getting plugged in and gradually moving away from feeling like you are a Tulsa Remoter to I'm now a Tulsan. But in those early days of Tulsa Remote, when I go and look at articles from the first year, I can't hardly find one that your face isn't all over, man. It's you, it's your story, it's your quotes. And I'm curious, because I know you and we've talked a little bit, why did that matter to you? Like, why was it important for you to put your face and name and story out there as somebody who is new to Tulsa and finding a home here?
Yeah, I thought it was very important because access is a big thing, right? And once I found out, oh my God, there's a secret in this country, in this great place that people can come live now and add value and really chase their dreams and help out. I wanted everybody to know, but I know access, especially for people of color, we don't have access to these things. So I wanted to make sure that, hey, people can see me and start the conversation. Okay, so there's this black guy telling people to move to Oklahoma. There has to be something there. Whether you agree with me or not, let's have the conversation,
Yeah.
Or you could try it out for a year, right?
Yeah.
If you make it in. So it was very important for me that people saw that, yes, I am saying as a black man that this is somewhere that, you can at least explore. And, this is for me coming with all my trauma from before with living in Missouri and growing up in the Midwest, I'm telling you. And so that did spark a lot of conversation. People were hitting me up on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, just messaging me in everywhere, right? Finding my number somehow. But I welcomed it because people were saying, I'm not going to lie to you, I'm very skeptical, but just seeing what you're going through, I'm willing to give it a shot. And of course, I'm not saying Tulsa's perfect, right? But it's somewhere where I wanted people to know that it is a place that as you're going through all the other issues you're dealing with in your city, you can definitely come to this city and grow. You can help. You can do everything you want to do that you may not be able to do now. So I just wanted to make sure that it's important that a black man was telling people to move to Tulsa. Like I did intentionally want to be seen in that.
Well, I got to thank you for that because, you were our marketing and recruitment team before we had one.
And I was just very excited too. Man.
Yeah.
You had a couple people who just were excited to jump in and ready to do it. So I was like, yeah, if they needed people, volunteers, or I was just busy and they were catching me do things. So I was just at the time, very happy to be a part of, and I still am happy to be alumni, but very happy to be part of Tulsa Remote. So I was ready to be loyal and talk about the truth, good or bad, everything that was going on with the program and with the city. So I was just very on fire to do that.
And so much of what you did and continue to do emulates what, we're trying to do at a staff level now, but just helping people see themselves reflected here.
Yeah.
And oftentimes trying to uncover or help mitigate some of the biases that are certainly present about Oklahoma or Tulsa. And I think that personal stories like yours make a big impact. And you certainly told your story a lot in that first year. I'm curious, was there a moment in which you felt like you were a Tulsan where you just said like, okay, this is my home. This is where I'm going to be for a while. This is where I want to put down roots. Was there a moment that comes to mind for you?
Yeah, it definitely was in 2020 when I wrote Reflections. It's a history of, the Black Wall Street and Greenwood, about the massacre. And so I wrote that play and was able to get it casted, produced, and shown. And it was sold out audiences right before the pandemic, right? And it was during that time, and in writing it and performing it, it felt like my graduation, right? I was now adding value to the city, helping tell the story, bringing people together. I looked around the room, and I even said in my speech, I came out at the end, I said, well, I'm a Tulsan now, and I meant that. And another reason I felt it is because I started defending Tulsa. Now I started feeling like it was, even when I was telling the story and hearing other comments about the city from outsiders, I was defending it a lot. And I said, you know what? Because I am one, and it's been almost 2 years. So it just felt like, I felt like a Tulsan. I felt like I had the right to call myself a Tulsan, and I was paying taxes. So financially I was a Tulsan, but it just hit me then that this is my city, and I would love to defend anybody says anything against it. You know, I love the people here already in my 2 years, you know, but I was ready to go to war for Tulsa, you know, and so that's when I knew, okay, I'm a Tulsan.
I love it. And is that what started kind of your theater journey in Tulsa?
Yeah,
because I know that's
continued
been a big part of your story here. Maybe talk a little bit about how that work has evolved during your time here.
It became a huge part of it because now I became not just an actor, but a director, theater board member. You know, I'm on the board of several, you know, I'm an arts commissioner for the city as well as Theater Tulsa and the Tulsa Ballet. But that just began my journey in the arts and saying, okay, I want to do more for performing arts in this city. I know we have a lot going on, but I want to make sure it's accessible for everybody and make sure that we have just bringing new ideas, you know, and working with what we have here because we have a great theater scene here. So it was easy for me to jump in. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't create anything new really. I didn't do anything. I didn't recreate the wheel. I just added to it. And that's one thing about Tulsa, you can just add to already great things as well as inventing your own things or coming up with new things, but I didn't feel like I had to change much.
Yeah.
And so that journey has been amazing because it's an intergenerational journey. I mean, you're working with acting and directing and helping people learn how to do these things from ages 7. One show I did, there was a 7-year-old and a 70-year-old. So 7 to 70, just working with them and watching them work together has been amazing for me. Just watching everybody and then seeing people perform and their families crying. And, you know, I just love what performing arts can do for people, and especially these students in Tulsa, helping them, you know, even further their grades and education through the arts has been amazing to watch. And I'm seeing the tangible things. I'm seeing the metrics, the outcomes, and that's been very heartwarming to see that we have immediate impact. And I'll say that about Tulsa. That's one place you can feel the impact. You know, you don't know sometimes what you're doing, but Tulsa, you can definitely feel it right away.
And we're sitting here in Central High School's Performing Arts Center.
Yeah.
Tulsa's first location was downtown. From your perspective, just like what this work means to you as you think about kind of pouring into children and the future of Tulsa and how you're showing up every day.
Yeah, I've always been one person who wants to give people options. And because I don't believe, as you know, I grew up, I went to college, I did everything I was supposed to do, right? But college isn't the answer for everybody.
Yeah.
And also, once you're there, do you have to just major in psychology, business, or marketing? Like there's so many options where I want people to be exposed to a lot before they make those life choices, or people who are already, you know, adults who are already, you know, to know that you can always come back or do something pivot, right? And so it was very important to me that, again, I keep saying intergenerational community building. I want to make sure everybody has options. So theater and performing arts is something, it's a skill that anybody can learn as well as develop. So maybe you're not the best at basketball, but you still want to do that in college, right? Maybe you still want to be on TV. You want to, there's a path to that, right? And I'm not going to rest until we see, you know, I'm sure it's happened before already, but since I've been here, I want to see our first student or somebody in a community that's on Broadway, right? Those are the type of goals I have. Getting them scholarships into Juilliard and, you know, even OU, everywhere around here. Just, I really want to make sure that this community has access to the arts. I see that the film industry is coming here, so let's be prepared for that. Let's be equipped. They're going to be looking for actors, tech crew. They're going to be looking for lighting, costumes, everything. So we want to make sure we build an engine that can train and develop all those things. So when they are looking for us, they don't have to get anybody else. They can come right to Tulsa and say, or, you know, Oklahoma period, and say, hey, we're looking for actors. Hey, we're looking for a grip boy. Hey, we're looking for PAs. We got them all because we're training them constantly.
Well, I hope you realize, I mean, the representation and access that you described that you tried to provide for Tulsa Remote or people looking into Tulsa Remote, you're doing that now for students too, you know, and seeing you on stage or seeing you direct, seeing you produce shows. I mean, seeing themselves reflected in you as a leader, making a big impact in the city. There's power in that too. So kudos. One of the things I think Tulsa Remote 5 years ago when we created the organization, obviously had no idea how fast we would scale because we didn't know a pandemic was coming, but also I don't think we necessarily recognized the power of the spouse or the partner or the kids that would come with the people. We know that for about every 3 people we bring to town, there's an additional 2 that come. There's a really cool story underneath your spouse, Faith, and her entrepreneurialism. So I just want to touch on that briefly. Maybe just touch on how that happened, how you came to open up that restaurant, and what that story has been like for you.
Typical to a lot of people in California. So Faith had went to culinary school, did the whole journey, but really, you know, there's not a lot of opportunity. And if so, it's everybody, you know, you have a million people going for it, right? And so Faith, culinary school trained, you know, and it was very award winning too at that. working at Panera here, and there was nothing wrong with that, but working at Panera in California, when we made that change, we was thinking, hey, maybe we can just go transfer to Panera here. That was the plan, right? And continue things going. But it was, as soon as you come to Tulsa, though, you see opportunities, right? Now you start, unlike other places, knowledge is usually access. Information is a barrier.
Yeah.
Knowledge is a barrier. Information is a barrier. In Tulsa, a lot of things are open, right? So we saw there's opening here at the new restaurant for the Gathering Place. It was a new restaurant at the Gathering Place. And so Faith ended up becoming one of the managing chefs there. So that's step one. It was like, oh, okay. Now there's a program where you can test your concepts out, and okay, let's do that. And, Faith loves cheese, right? So it was going to be grilled cheese at first, and then we started developing it more and going through the Kitchen 66 program in Mother Road Market. And so that was a great incubator for me and Faith. We both joined it, and Faith did a lot of the work, of course, obviously. And we would do our first pop-up. Now, our pop-ups happened right during the pandemic. And so typically, Mother Road Market, we have a lot of organic traffic. You can go to the test kitchen and you see a new concept. You can, people can purchase it and, give feedback. But we were during a pandemic, so we did ours through just drive-up pop-ups, right? We had to do some marketing, commercials, our own thing.
Getting innovative.
And then the word kept spreading. Another reason the word kept spreading is because Faith, we would go and donate our time and, food to people's events and programs. We would bring, if it was like the Black Businesswomen of America, Black Businesswomen of Tulsa, now they changed to Black Business Owners of America, but we would bring a nice salad, or bring some appetizers and start getting the word out. And so finally, through the incubator, Kitchen 66, she graduated. Next thing you know, there was an offer for to have a permanent spot at Mother Road Market. And so first time ever owning anything like that. And so Faith had a restaurant. She grew a restaurant from idea to pop up to incubator to a full-fledged restaurant with staff, employing a lot of people, and just serving a lot of people and making an impact in this community, because everybody knows about Curds and Whey Gourmet. And so we've been very fortunate to even have the opportunity. Again, low risk but high reward.
Yeah.
Right. And so because we were able to test we didn't have to buy equipment to test out our product. We had a place, a venue, and we had the means, and they gave us a POS system, everything we needed. And that's what I can say about Tulsa. They'll give you the shot that you need.
Yeah.
Some people just need that
good.
shot, right? They just need a chance to show. And so, that's why it was very successful. And, Faith now from California has her own restaurant, which she can grow if she would like, or try a different concept. The sky's the limit here in Tulsa.
I love it. I got to know, man. So your wife's an entrepreneur. I know a huge part of your story has also been weight loss.
Yeah.
You just mentioned cheese. I know she's got fries on that menu.
Yes.
How did you lose so much weight when she's making cheese and fries and I've eaten some of her stuff before. It's heavy. How did you do it? How'd
Great
you do it?
stuff. Thank God cheese is a protein, so it doesn't sit on too much. But honestly, that's why I had to stay busy myself and other things, because if not, I would have been at home eating fast food and all the weight loss out the window. So no, it's tough. It's still tough.
Yeah.
I mean, and there's things you guys don't know that she can cook that she's amazing at. She's right now, Faith is just staying in her lane, but she really can cover it all. Like when it comes to, and she worked at the Summit Club too. She was a very well-known chef at the Summit Club. She helped out with over there, and she loved it there, and got some stuff on the menu. So she's just very talented. And so I have to stay away sometimes, because if not, I'm going to mess up whatever she's working on, and I'm going to mess up my diet. So
you're more disciplined
I failed
than I am.
a lot. I'll say that. I failed a lot.
Yeah, as we all do. Man, I can't say enough just about the ways in which you've plugged yourself into the community. I mean, oftentimes I find myself, one of the beauties of the job is talking about Tulsa Remote as kind of this big machine, and hearing people's various opinions, which you get kind of across the spectrum as to what Tulsa Remote is. And then it's like, Obum? And I didn't know Obum was Tulsa Remote, and they can talk about ways in which you've impacted their life, or they've seen you on a stage, or they've eaten Faith's food, or whatever else. You're showing up at council meetings and, playing a role in the development of Greenwood. And, for me, I think it's just such a thing of beauty to see somebody who can tap into the impact that somebody has had on their life, and also not even recognize how they got here, which at the end of the day, it really shouldn't matter. Yeah. And you all have done just a great job of integrating into Tulsa as a whole, finding places you can add value and be additive and impacting the city, both kids, adults, amongst others. And we're grateful for that. What's next for you? Where do you all, see yourselves going from here in Tulsa?
Just continue to love the city and just continue to build. I want to continue to build things, and all the things people want here, all the things. And I'm seeing now, yes, we came here for a better life, but it's my job now, I feel, it's my responsibility to make sure that I'm creating that better life for students here. I don't want people that feel like they have to leave Tulsa.
Yeah.
Like how I felt I wanted to leave, and how a lot of people feel, which I support your journey to go find other things, but I want to create a Tulsa where it's going to be hard for you to leave, right?
Yeah.
I want students to be and when I say students, I'm just talking about young people, period. I want them to be so proud of Tulsa and proud of what they have here and have so many opportunities that it's going to be a hard sell to get them to come to your to your city, your state, college, or whatever, because we have it here and they want to be a part of continuing it. So for me, it's continuing to build. Very active. I'm building a Black Broadway here. And so Black Broadway is for everybody, right? But the moniker is Black Broadway to remember the access that we don't have for a lot of people of color. So we want to build something that everybody can be proud of and be entertained by, and also do workforce development with. So for me, you're going to see a lot of workforce development, a lot of training, a lot of high-level shows continuing here in Tulsa, making sure that people of color, East Tulsa, I'm with the Global District as well, North Tulsa, West, everywhere, right? We want to make sure that they have access and they're getting the proper and the same training and same opportunities everybody else is getting here in Tulsa. Because one thing about Tulsa is, it's not that we don't want to give access, it's just a lot of people don't know about it. And so continue to bridge those connections together and bring people in and deal with the problems we have, like transportation and knowledge and access, information. So removing barriers is what I'm continuing to do and build in Tulsa, but I'm gonna have fun doing it. One thing I need to start doing in 2024, I'm gonna make sure I'm gonna do more but less, right? You saw me on a lot of boards before and a lot of just really getting my nose dirty, right? But now I've done that and I know what needs to be done. And so I'm going to do less of the boards and just more of getting down and dirty and having a lot more fun. I want to have a lot more fun because Tulsa's a fun place. Sometimes I feel like I miss out on a lot of the fun because I'm working too hard, but I'm going to enjoy all those things because it is my state and city too.
I love it, man. Well, thanks for all you've done, continue to do, and I'm looking forward to following your story in the years ahead. Maybe we'll be back in 5 years to celebrate 10 years at Tulsa Remote and another story featuring all the ways you've developed from there. So thanks for your time today and for all you've done for the city.
And I thank you all for giving me the opportunity to do this. I always want to make sure I give Tulsa Remote its proper credit. I thank you guys for getting me started in all this. There is none of this without Tulsa Remote. And that's why I feel it's my responsibility to be a good Tulsa Remoter and be a good example in this city, because I did talk a lot and did a lot in the beginning. So, so I want to make sure I'm a representative, but also I'm very grateful to the staff in the beginning and the staff now for all you guys do for Tulsa, as well as Tulsa Remoters. So thank you.
Appreciate it, man.
No problem.
Yeah.